so much for being willing to do this. And I bet folks would want to know a little bit about you and what you were doing, particularly before you got using the Reading Simplified technique, and then how that process changed for you.
Okay, so we got involved, a group of us in our neighborhood got involved with a homeschool co-op back, about 13, 14 years ago. It was in our basement, unfinished basement. We had 17 kids, and we started from a 6th to an 11th grade level.
Okay.
And the kids were all over the board, just everywhere. And I came in as green could be, and everybody
had you taught before?
No.
Okay.
I had not taught before. I was trying to think. I mean, probably Sunday school classes or something,
but not formal.
But no formal teaching. And our first year was a disaster, in the good way, where you learn a lot. And we went for about 9 years. We grew from 17 kids to about 50.
Wow. And
then we just were bursting at the seams. Somebody's language class was in somebody's bonus room, and somebody's, so we merged with another private school, and I went into the high school, basically. I mean, we were mostly in high school anyway, junior high school. And that first year I taught an 8th grade language class, and I was doing your spelling. We read out loud sometimes, we do. And I had 3 kids in that class that were just, one kid could pass the spelling test because he worked really hard, memory. His mom would help him. The others just bombed it every time. And I started to just go, something's not right. I went to the supervisors and said, hey, let me test them. I've been using the San Diego quick assessment for several years. It's just so quick.
Yep, that's a word identification, just a list of words to read really quickly. It gives you approximate reading achievement level.
And it tells you really, my results almost always match. Somebody had one of their kids tested, from Sylvan. And mine with just my basic gave me the exact same information.
That's awesome. Very helpful as
enough information. So
tutor.
I tested their handwriting fluency and their reading fluency, and it was just bad. It was 3rd grade level. These are 8th graders. So we set up, instead of going to science, which they couldn't even read the book to get through. So instead of going to science, I would meet with them for twice a week for an hour.
Okay.
And all I knew then is I knew reading out loud mattered. And some pretty significant results with our own kids when we'd make them read out loud and listen to out loud reading. So we got limped through that year. The next year, I had 8 students, and they said they don't really qualify to go on. And I said, okay. And by mid-November, there's got to be something that breaks through. So in my car on the way home that day, I typed in, is there an assessment like San Diego? Because I'd used it so often, it's like they're going to just know the word.
Yeah.
Is there a different assessment? Can I do something? And up popped Reading Simplified. That was a good tag to have the San Diego in there. I read just one of the blogs. I think it was Start Here. I don't even remember what blog it was. And I just kind of skimmed it really fast, saved it, and sent it to my email. And so probably half a month later, it's still churning. It's right before Christmas break. And I started to really read the stuff, read your stuff.
Okay.
I was just blown away. Like, I sent it to the kindergarten teachers because we were all on one campus now. I sent it to the supervisor. And so I signed up, I think in January, maybe December, and just started going through the course. And then I started talking to the kindergarten teacher, and I started thinking about my 8th graders, my 9th graders at that point. And I thought, how is it that I can teach them this without them feeling stupid? Look, we're going to talk about the sounds again. And I got hold of you and got permission to show them the videos in class and teach them how to do switch it and how to do those things. And then the kindergarten teacher would let us come in once or twice a week. and they would play switch it with the kindergartners.
So clever.
So that was really, I knew that they were smarter than the kindergartners. That was the safe thing. So we started doing that. And then my only thing that I'd really make the kids do for homework is to read out loud for 10 or 15 minutes a day. I don't even remember what it was. And all three of those kids that were on the, especially two of them, I can't remember the third, she had some other learning difficulties, moved up like to the 5th grade reading level by the end of the year from February until.
Wow, February. Yeah.
And that was, I was just.
That was 3rd to 5th. With
5th.
Kind of barely, not really doing the whole.
Yeah. And switch it for the kindergartners and watching the videos, and I'd make them take a little test. How many sounds are in this? You know, we do just kind of had them go through the test that you have at the end of the unit, and that was really good. Meanwhile, I'm tutoring 16 kids in school on a Tuesday and a Thursday morning, 10 minutes at a time, and they'd send 1 or 2 or 3 at me, and I had to adapt switch it really fast. I was mostly doing switch it and guided reading, and I had to adapt it to, I just write the letters on the board and tell them the letters they could use, and because it's just too hard to move those tiles around.
And if you guys are not familiar with Reading Simplified, switch it is our term for a phoneme manipulation activity. It's sort of word building where we have the letter sounds on a board and we challenge the students to move the sounds in and out of words. So change cat to cot and cot to pot and pot to pod and pod to sod. And so we change every position in the word and we move rapidly from 3 sounds to 4 sounds, 5 sounds, 6 sounds, and, you know, change 5 sounds, stamp to stump to stomp. So yeah, Karen's all over it. The phoneme, that's phonemic awareness, and mapping it onto print too. So that's all Terri was doing, just one simple activity, probably taking 5 to 8 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes maybe, because we had to squeeze in. We had 15, but really you only get 10 by the time the kid remembers that they're coming. And
yes.
You know,
and then you did reading.
Oral reading. And then the guided reading with the Reading Simplified passages.
And what is characterizes the way you coach kids through the text as they're reading to you? What are some of the hallmarks of what we would see if we were to watch you do that?
I love the pencil on the word. They learn so fast if my pencil's stuck here. I've more often had to remember that to keep my pencil off the page, they just stop because they think the pencil, immediate feedback. Sometimes if they're struggling, I'll just say that says A instead of make them flex it until they're at least confident enough to start playing with it.
Right.
But these kids all had strong Spalding Riggs. It's a break off from Orton Gilliam. I mean, it's all the same. And they had strong first through K through 3rd phonics.
Wow. So they knew the phonics information.
Major flashcards, major phonics tests every day, isolated. And so what really struck me about Reading Simplified is it's not isolated, and it's just intuitively what we knew. Meanwhile, my niece's daughter's going through this program and struggling like crazy. And her grandma just takes her aside and just starts doing what the simple way. Not this, but just really this. So
that manipulation and the perception of sounds, linking the sounds and symbols, that was kind of the missing piece probably for those kids, because the phonics information was something they couldn't tap onto without the phonemic awareness.
But they could spit out a phonogram rule or that's Owen is a boat, or that's ooh, and whatever they would do. They could spit it out. And with their parents in a tutoring session, the parents could spit it out equally as well. So that was a little eye-opening. So I started to really bug the supervisor and say, we need to look at what we're doing. Meanwhile, I would caution against one of the mistakes I made is we started using the letter tiles to manipulate spelling words. So there were spelling words. They had a whole spelling list every day. And so we do a spelling, we take that list and use the letter tiles. And it works to some degree. It helps the manipulation, but it's not for the same purpose.
Right.
And they still have to memorize how it goes.
And it's not as taxing just to move things that are already there around. They're not even writing it, and they don't have to recall it.
Yeah. So That's one
Not
of the
as.
early mistakes we made,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to help get it, get it off the ground. And
Mm-hmm.
they can't remember all of the. Oh, the other thing I loved was sort it. That just like, where's that been our whole lives? Why?
Uh,
Why?
and sorted is another key activity that we teach here at Reading Simplified. Some of you guys have used it. Maybe I could bring up an image of it, but it's teaching all of the sound, all of the major spellings of one sound at the same time, presenting them from the get-go at the same time, and then having the kids read it and sort it by spelling, and then say the sounds as they do it, which is a really key part of it, that they say the O as they write the whole O. So they're syncing sounds and symbols. So yeah, so that was a helpful addition. When you actually had more time than just 10 minutes, you
Yeah,
added in
it was
sort it.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids, mostly in that amount of time, I would do steal it with them in the sort it, and they
Okay.
loved it. They
Mm-hmm.
love to play with that.
Yep, that's
Um,
another game that reinforces the advanced phonics. Great, great. Okay, so
and
you're
then,
doing all this kind of you're sort of a maestro of the school, just running around, probably with it like a chicken with your head cut off, catching every little child that's fallen behind and
and
squeezing in a few minutes here
and
and there.
and getting more frustrated with the present program,
Mm-hmm.
and getting more pushy with it too. So just, if you're going to marry some systems and you're going to work with people, don't be pushy. So,
Yeah,
um, but I was so
classic.
excited. I was just like, ah,
I
and
know.
people would say, yeah, but everybody mostly gets it. It's just those broken people that don't. And I'd say, no,
Yeah.
you guys, if the broken people can get it in 3 months, then we should look at the people who aren't broken and how fast they could go. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah. And it's
so
not like you just you're a relatively small school and you didn't just have one or two. You had a good
we had
number of.
15 kids that I mean, I'd see like four an hour. I mean, well, or even small groups
Mm-hmm.
for 2 or 3 hours on a Tuesday and a Thursday.
Yeah.
So
And oops, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. That is so
it's
common. The
okay.
data, the net, can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, good. Don't worry. I'm not leaving. Um, yeah, the national data suggests to us that probably around 30% of kids just don't perceive the sounds and words well. And so that's what's blocking them from being able to access the code. And that's why Switch It was so helpful. But this is that sorted activity that Terri was saying so helpful. You read the words that have the particular sound, in this case, the O sound, and then they read the word like boat, and then they have to decide where it goes. And um, and it comes along with a key sentence. Go home to show the boat to Joe, which has the major spellings for the O sound. And yeah, Jennifer says it's challenging whenever you are encountering resistance or new other ideas. She says sometimes it's better to be sneaky.
The thing I found is people think, not everybody, but it comes like, is it sustainable? Can you really, this
Mm,
is a good gimmick, but then what? And when I tried to marry the systems in my own method and try to talk to teachers about that, it really is messy because it works for a day or two because it's a
mm,
new thing, but it isn't a process that really keeps them on the road.
mhm.
And so it's not a bad thing. It just doesn't get the results. So
When
they're not
when
sustainable.
you're
Yeah. When
creating
you're
an amalgam.
yeah, when you're picking at something and using it for it's like using a knife or a screwdriver.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I have a lot of dead knives. So the other thing I would do with the kids is the guided reading. That was new to me, to have them redo it and the fluency, and that's really fun. I just love guided reading.
And and you're talking about rereading too?
Yep.
Tell us
Yep.
about what that's like and why was that new?
So I'd never experienced the reread like that. I had only done, we'd read through, and I'd keep the kids, like my ninth graders, I'd keep them on task and make them sound something out. Oh, go back to blend as you read. That was huge. I mean, that was just like,
Hmm.
that was massive. Um, but I'd make them stick with it and not answer it for them, but they didn't really have that phonemic awareness. They didn't have the ability to see a letter and translate it into the sound, especially in a big word.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd let them, just it's mind blowing that they cannot even know 90% of the text on a simple decodable. And within a day or two, they're starting to pick stuff up. And so
Mm-hmm.
we'd read through a little bit. If it was long, I'd read part of it. They'd read part of it. We'd come back and they'd try it again. And then
Mm-hmm.
I didn't give them any homework that first year because it was just like, and I feel like we made some pretty good progress. We saw some breakthroughs with the
Mm-hmm.
kids. So,
And so
so that's
now, and now are you tutoring some kids separate from the school, or are they just mostly school kids and you're working with them sometimes after school?
right now, all the kids I've had so far have been school related, but I
Mm-hmm.
went that summer and had like a different 16, or maybe about half of them came through the summer. Same results, about a year's worth of progress with some of them, half a year, 2 years worth, some of them.
Wow.
Um, the
Just
oldest
over a
girl I had
summer.
was a sixth grader,
Mm-hmm.
over a summer,
That's awesome.
and still learning. So I'm still really green. So I'm not really getting all of the elements in,
Right.
but
Yeah, that was in the summer. A year ago
yeah,
now, almost a year ago.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But now you're a
And
master of
then
it. Terry's even getting into our community. We have the paid membership to learn the whole Reading Simplified system called the Reading Simplified Academy. We have an online discussion board there so you can get ongoing coaching from literacy experts. And Terry is now one of those, just volunteering, giving great counsel. And because she really understands the Reading Simplified system, having come from something where she was, didn't, as she said, didn't know much more to do than just have the kids read. And now she's
yeah.
giving some encouragement and feedback, and she really is a blessing to this community. In our teachers lounge is what we call it. Yeah, and Luigi, and I forgot your name. I know you've told me that's the name of your cat or your dog, but she says blend as you read is the key that brings it all together. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing better than seeing those kids growth. And so that's one of the reasons also I wanted to bring Terri on today, is because she's got some kids recently, now that she's really rocking and rolling with this system and she's been using it for over a year. She's seeing some really great results. So we're going to talk about two kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got Brinley, a
Yeah.
girl, and then Clay. So tell us about Brinley before you started working with her, and then what you did, and then we'll show some of her footage after about 3 or 4 months of reading instruction.
Mm-hmm. So with Brinley, I tutored her older sister, a sixth grader, in the summer. And in coming back to school, the the administration said she can only come to this grade level, first grade, if you guarantee that she'll get tutoring.
Wow.
But Brinley came to me sometime in October. And so her mom was really happy with the results that the older daughter got. But Brinley came in October. She could write 9 letters in a minute.
And she's a first grader? I'm sorry, you said.
She was a first grader. She started first grade. Yeah.
So October of first grade. Got it.
And she could write that many. She could barely, oh man, just CVC, pretty clunky, a few, but it was almost no phonemic awareness, zero sorted, even though she knew all her phonograms and she could say them.
Wow. She
So,
couldn't put any of the pieces together.
and so within about a month, she started putting some of those pieces together. Within just a little bit, her handwriting speed went up like crazy, thanks to Nora, and that just was mind blowing.
Right. Nora Shabazi brought in just the writing the alphabet. She gave us a class on that, and you're just timing them, see how many letters they can write in the alphabet in a minute, and boom, that's building that fluency.
There's definitely something to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that. She loved it. Her mom would send me a picture of her whiteboard every so often, and she's up to 50 or 60 letters a minute now.
It's fast.
Just way. And I did notice a connection.
Mm-hmm.
That ease, it's probably just simple recognition of the letters.
Right.
She had a B and a D reversal.
Which is normal for first grade.
She has a hard time saying her R's. Mm-hmm. And her R's got mixed up and so she couldn't hear the sounds because the W and the R, the W and the R, and then so that was tricky. Mm-hmm. trying to think of when we felt the breakthrough. We went through Christmas and we were making progress. And she came and we took almost a month off
Wow.
during Christmas. And then January she came back. And there's just that moment that you just like something just clicked. It just started, all the pieces started,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just looking at her like, look at this girl. Look what's happened here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And her excitement, and she just took off. Just took off. And she
It's
started at a barely kindergarten level with me. Just on
right.
my
She's barely
basic,
able to read CBC words.
yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
basic
Mm-hmm.
picking at it and not doing very well, guessing like crazy and,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so, and she's reading chapter books on her own and big multisyllable stuff.
Yeah.
Multisyllable is as they move along, I found just recently how big that is.
Yep.
I push them into multisyllable just about as fast as I can.
Good.
So
They get enough, typically they get enough advanced phonics that they can attack a lot
yeah,
of those words, and then you're
yeah.
there to give them the support
Mm-hmm.
where they
We
have
do a
missing
lot.
info.
Yeah, we do a lot of write it with that, where I'll give them the word and they'll break it up and say the sounds and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is just
So,
dictation.
yeah,
And they might mark it even, and maybe
yeah,
mark the OA if they see one in the
yeah, and
O.
underline it twice if they see it, if it's a double letter or triple letter or something
Nice.
like that. So
So we have a video. Let's hope that it will play and you guys can hear it. Let me know once I get it started if you can hear it. And so this video is one of her early breakthrough days, if I understand
yeah,
that correctly, maybe in the winter still. What
yeah,
time
but
would
it's
be?
probably January,
Okay.
February.
Okay, so this
So
is
it's
the girl in October.
3 or 4 months total.
Yeah, in October she was barely reading CVC. You took a
Mm-hmm.
month off for winter Christmas break, and
Mm-hmm.
then she's reading this passage. Now, this is this not her first time seeing it? But
No,
it's
that,
only
that was the second read through, I
yeah.
think, second or third.
It's a lot of text. I'll show you in a second. It's a lot of text for a second read through for a child who couldn't read CVC just three months earlier. So
Mm-hmm.
this was the beginning of her breakthrough, and we have another video when she's reading Magic Treehouse. Okay, here we go.
Have you ever seen a frog
Can you hear?
near a pond? You can often stop one there. Most frogs live near water. They need to keep their skin wet. A frog's skin is special. It makes a slimy coating that helps a frog stay wet. A frog drinks their skin through its skin. It also breathes through its skin. A frog can do that only when its skin is wet. Frogs also breathe with using lungs. What also else do frogs use lungs for? Frogs make noise with it.
I love that. She's for herself, and that's just so cool. Did you catch all the things that she was able to do there? She came to the word stay, and she probably didn't remember that AY is one thing and that it's sound. And so she went and she said a couple of different sounds, and she went, oh, A, and she pulled it all together, stay. She read that word, and then Terri wisely just gave her the word through, because this wasn't this was a second read, so through was pretty tricky, a little bit harder for her level, just to keep her moving. But when she got stuck, like on words like else, she didn't look up at Terri. She didn't make a guess. She looked at the sounds really carefully and figured out that it was else. And we're getting a lot of encouragement. Bim says, wow, Terri, I bet you were doing a huge happy dance.
There's a story behind the happy dance.
Oh, do tell.
So that was actually her mom that corrected her. She took the video.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a good mom move.
It was because I require the parents come to the session so that she knows how to do the correcting and hold her accountable and stuff like that. So the happy dance had to do, I don't remember what I said. If she could do something, I'd send her a video of me doing a happy dance.
Oh, you literally did.
Well, no, I literally did. And no, we aren't sharing that video anywhere, anytime. It's not good.
Okay, so we also have little Brinley, another video of her doing Magic Treehouse. You guys know Magic Treehouse. So this is, in fact, how did this come about? Did she wanted to move into that?
We kept giving her the ReadWorks articles, and what she was good at. She likes animals, so that was pretty easy. But ReadWorks, sometimes it's more challenging in the same grade level as it is in a, there's just really easy story, and then there's a little bit harder. They're really good.
Yeah.
But she went home that day with her little packet. I give them 5 days worth of work, and she said,
right.
I just want to read a book, Mom. Can I just read a book?
Mm-hmm.
She picked up Magic Treehouse and flew. Her mom sent me a message and said she figured out Mysterious and Discovered on her own.
Awesome.
So
okay, so I just wisely closed the file when I was trying to. So I'm going to pull it up, and so this is the mom's recording. And by the way, it's not very good quality, but you can still hear her. And then I've got the text. I'll have the text up on the screen. So this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to take my earphones out again. Let's see. Add to the screen. Okay, so how many of you know Magic Treehouse? How many move there as soon as you can? This is what I really like to get my kids to, because then they're in a real book. There's a lot of, the words are fairly predictable or repeatable. And I mean, she's not trying to write a decodable text in any way, but there's a lot of repetition of words like magic and 7-year-old sister Annie. And that really helps that beginning reader to not feel overwhelmed, but still read something challenging. So as you can see, it's not going to be a good quality video, but we can still see how she's progressing. So this is a little further down the line, and her
probably a week.
Okay. And this is her own initiative,
mm-hmm.
which is even probably the most exciting thing about it all. Oh, actually, we are getting a lot of clamor for the happy dance. Maybe that'll be private, just on the teacher's side.
It's pretty bad. I did a GIF or a GIF or however you say that phonetically, and it wasn't me. And I can share that, but it's really ugly.
But what we do for our kids when they break through, right? Okay, so here we go with little Brinley, first grade, after just 3 months of tutoring, rocking it with a Magic Treehouse.
One summer day in Frog Creek, Pennsylvania, a mysterious tree house appeared in the woods. 8-year-old Jack and his 7-year-old sister Annie climbed into the tree house. They found that it was filled with Jack and Annie soon discovered that the treehouse was magic. It could take them to the places in the books. All they had to do was to point to the picture and wish to go there.
Awesome. Now, how's she doing? We're maybe a couple months later. I forgot what have you.
So I stopped seeing her once school got out. I mean, everything shut down.
Yeah.
I stopped seeing her. I saw her a couple of times, I think, and then we just went into the shutdown. But her mom said this to me. I wrote it down. I just keep one of my day planner that I don't use except to kind of journal sometimes badly. But she said to me, her brain is changed. She
Ooh.
thinks different. And she
Mhm.
also mentioned how important she had realized, and she taught before too. She said, I had not realized the importance of the necessity of the challenge and not
Ooh.
solving the problem for them, letting them struggle.
Mhm.
And so that was big
Yeah.
because you always kind of want to rescue them out of it. And she says, all this time I've been doing, get your reading done. We got 20 minutes to go, because that's the required reading every night with the
Right.
kids. And she says, I'm realizing that if it took her 10 minutes to figure out mysterious and she figured it out, that
Mhm.
is a bigger win and 10 minutes of reading. I'm going to count it. She says, and she has a third grader who's not struggling. And she says, she doesn't have the foundation that my first grader has.
Wow.
I see her not have the same ability to
Right.
figure things out.
Yeah, and what I noticed is that she was very attentive to print. I think I saw her, I don't think I mean, I'm trying to juggle a couple different things, but I don't think I saw her miss any words other than she read an A as for a
Mhm,
the.
mhm.
Every other thing she's carefully tracking, but some of the time she was pretty fluent, like
Yeah.
that the treehouse was magic. It wasn't all just robotic, one word at a
Mhm.
time, even though all of these words, she could have never, she could have only read them once or twice before most of these words because she's just learned to read in the last week
Yeah.
or so.
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
it really just that brain where you can see it in their head. It
Yeah.
see it lighten up,
Yeah.
you can see it. And you feel like you can hear it, just like the download happening, and I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
there's that shift.
Yeah, that's one of the messages that I like to teach. What Terry's just saying now about the word mysterious, the struggle going through that word is worth much more than just that word. It's going to pay off dividends for all sorts of other words. So we give them that time, some of the time. Like as I pointed out earlier,
Yeah.
her mother was wise to not give her maybe the help with through, just give her the word through, let her
Mhm.
move through it. But Jennifer says, yeah, this is something that resonates with her. She was often giving too much support. It's not hard not to jump in and help. That is kind of how we're trained, particularly in kindergarten and first grade classrooms. We're often kind of feeling like it's not developmentally appropriate for them to struggle. And really, it's in the struggle, if you're there to coach them, that they're going to improve in their word attack skills. And Mim says, I agree with Terry that if a child takes 10 minutes to work out a word, that is more important work than just reading heaps of easier words. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Carol's making an important point that this child already has the vocabulary and the language skills to comprehend this type of text. And so a student with English language learning needs or some significant language disparities, that would be maybe different. But
For sure.
most of our kiddos can understand kindergarten and first grade text anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so yay for Brindley. What's up next with Clay? Tell us Clay's
Okay.
backstory.
So, Clay got recommended to get some tutoring. He was a first grader. He's done now, but he was first grader mid-year. So January, his mom contacted me, and she was a little afraid he might be dyslexic, because he was testing at a mid-kindergarten level. And
Mm-hmm.
he said he reverses B and D, N and U, and M and W.
Mm.
And so in the end of January, I tested him I did simple handwriting, just your basic, all the really basics. I run through the snapshot assessment, which I love. I actually tend to come back to that more than even like I've only done the past once, I think, the David Kilpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
It really does kind of tell you
So it's a
basic.
nonsense word test, letter sound knowledge,
Mhm.
and segmenting. That's the
Yep,
things,
segmenting.
the
And
little sub skills, whether they have which piece is missing or broken.
and what I told our supervisors, I said, you can say what level they're on, mid-year, whatever, F, G, I, I said, but when you tell your parents that there's somebody struggling, you can't tell them what the problem is, and you can't tell them how to solve it. And so they're going to keep doing a lot of what they think is the necessary thing. We'll
Yeah.
just try harder.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I love the snapshot. It is so easy to administer, and it will tell you right away.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the San Diego does. It just tells you enough.
Yep.
And so he tested kindergarten. He could read through the kindergarten words on the snapshot. I mean, on the San Diego, and he missed 4 on the first grade level. So that's a definite not a first grade level reader.
Right.
And so I got about the same results. He would do a funny thing and go op, b, and there was no the blend was just not happening. He could do some decoding, but he couldn't blend.
Mm-hmm.
And so the very first thing we did, I didn't give him any homework that first day, and I just said, all I want you to do, he was 18 letters a minute on his handwriting. And we walked through how to do it. I love the Peterson print.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And I said, just work on this. Most of our session was testing it, and I said, just for 1 week. And told him about where I wanted him at some point soon, 40 plus letters, and he got there that first week.
Oh, he's motivated.
Very motivated. And within that, all the reversals except B and D went away. Just awesome. I think I've seen him do an N and a U or an M or a W.
Self-taught.
Yeah, but the B and the D, we worked on it today.
Mm-hmm.
Because he'll in context he can figure it out.
Okay.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah. What's the difference between this and this? Yeah. It's very subtle, really. If you're not, you haven't been fixed with print really deeply.
Yeah. Yet. So within just a couple of months, I tested him. It'd been 3.5 months. I tested him 2 or 3 weeks ago. He stuck with me. He's just in my neighborhood, and he'd come over and spend half an hour 1 day a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we got in, and we did a lot of word work. We did a lot of say as you write. Mm-hmm. You say the sound as you write. Mm-hmm. And we moved into pretty quickly moved into the big words. As soon as he was blending, we moved into multisyllable. But what I realized right first after testing is he had zero advanced phonics.
Yep.
He had it. You could show him a phonogram card and he could say it. He was smart. He could say, "Oh, that's that's the ooh, or that's the o, or that's the ow," or he could do all of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah,
the application.
And then he'd not read it.
Yeah, but it just couldn't apply. He couldn't apply it.
So I tested him again, San Diego. He could get through all of the the kindergarten level, just without even a struggle. It just went right through it. He missed 2 on the first grade, read several second and third grade level words.
That's awesome. And how many weeks had that been of instruction?
About 3.5 total. No, I'm sorry, 3.5 months total of instruction.
Wow.
From the beginning. So it'd been about that long since I tested him.
So that's how many years would you say of growth then that is?
I would say a year's growth, easily. I did a spelling test on him. I didn't do it at the first because spelling tests are, I can't even get on that bandwagon. Whatever that horse, I can't ride it tonight. But I did do a spelling test because I was curious, because we'd done so much saying as you write and breaking the words up and saying the sounds and fixing those things. Mm-hmm. And he tested on a 2.6 grade level in spelling.
Awesome, which is a huge sign for a kid who couldn't apply his phonics to reading. Now, boom, boom, boom. Okay,
that one really excited me.
That's a great reflection. Donnell, I don't have that Peterson handwriting link, but if you Google Peterson handwriting, I'm sure you'll find it. Okay, so let's listen to Clay reading Betty Botter. He's been focusing on learning the sound, and this is a great nursery rhyme to get that extra repetition of the sound. And so this is maybe his second read.
This one is maybe his second or his third. I kind of read some of it, and he'd read it, and then I'd let him try a couple of lines, and then I said, let's take a video and have you read it. So it might have been his third, in between-ish.
Mm-hmm. And Megan, I think Terri said that it was twice a week for half an hour?
Once a week for half an hour.
Once. Okay. Half an hour is not much.
Half an hours are a little bit longer.
Sometimes they go long.
I'm in a different time zone.
Okay. So let me see if we can get sound, everybody. Here we go. This is Bet Clay. After 3 months of tutoring, basically not able to read before this, and now he's reading Betty Botter, kind of a tongue-twisting type of nursery rhyme, fairly easily.
Betty Botter had some butter, but she said, "This butter is bitter. If I bake this bitter butter, I would make a bad. It would make my batter bitter."
Okay, great. And how about another one? This is I thought. It's another sort of mouthful. Let me just go bye-bye, buddy botter. Okay, here's I thought.
I thought, but the thought I thought wasn't the thought I thought. But if the thought I thought had been the thought I thought, I wouldn't have thought so much.
It's hard to do that because you had to, if it was the thought I thought, beginning readers can't read that type of thing, can they? Because they, their eyes aren't tracking very carefully. They don't have sounds and symbols all connected. So that is way cool. Congratulations, Terri. That's a treat. Are you going to keep working with him?
Yeah, I saw him today and he read Betty Botter even better.
Way to go. So thank you so much. This has been so awesome. What would you say to someone, you've given us a lot of good ideas already, but what would you say to someone who is doing something kind of traditional and they're not seeing success? What is going to be different for them if they jump on something like Reading Simplified?
Ooh. First off, one of the major attractions for me was simple. I have always felt like something life isn't supposed to be that hard. And I know kids struggle, so I'm not making, making something up that they don't, but I think it has to be simple. One thing that I hear a lot from parents is, well, I'm not the teacher. I don't really know how to do that. The teachers know how. And I think you guys, if you're a parent, you're a teacher. That's just the bottom line. And you can do it. And it's simple and it's doable. And walking through, going through the academy, you learn it every little step at a time. And I had a really heavy phonics background. In fifth grade, all the teachers in my school when I was going through fifth grade, got on the Spalding bandwagon. And we did all of that, even up through the sixth grade or something. We had a little notebook and we wrote everything down. And so the simplicity, how effective it is, it just is so fast. And how integrated it is. Just being able to have it apply across the board, have it, I don't even know how to say it, have it be, if I'm going to do spelling, I'm actually reading the thing I'm spelling, and I'm here. If you want to, you can do so much with it. If your history lesson, why aren't we doing our history lesson with our rereading, and why aren't we doing, and why aren't our spelling words coming from the stuff we're doing? So it's really effective. It's really simple. It's really fast. We're not talking, if your kid has to read for 20 minutes a day, every day, because that's the school mandate or whatever, so much of that could be sitting inside of a family circle with somebody reading. Me and my kids read through the book of Proverbs for a whole year, because there's 31 of them and you get one every day for a month. And you hear somebody else read and you get to catch their mistakes and they get it, anything. It's so simple and it's so short. It's not 20 minutes could easily be in. I wish parents knew how to think through that they can work that system a little bit and learn how to get creative with it.
Yeah, during this time, we're called on as parents to do that more than ever. But I think that is probably one of the keys for all kindergarten, first and second grade teachers, if the families were also reading as well, and also for us as teachers, if we could find a way to increase the amount of time we're giving that feedback to the student. That was what Terri started with. And even though she felt like she didn't have a system, even from the beginning, she did know that aha about let's get the kids to read and give them feedback. And sometimes in the busyness of everything that we feel like we have to do, we don't have enough time to listen to them read. So if we could prioritize that as teachers, and also if we could encourage parents to do that, you know, I think one of the easiest ways is just to sit there with a kid in school, record, or now this with a distance learning situation, record them reading and you giving feedback and say to the parent, you can copy what I did. And, you know, sometimes I would just tap and tell him the word, the sound that he didn't know, let him do the rest. Sometimes I tap to make sure he would fix a mistake that I thought he could fix. And sometimes I just gave him the word, but those are some pretty simple, it's not that many, there aren't that many things you have to know. You don't have to know the label for the phonics pattern. It doesn't have to be a long O or a short O. It just tap on it. You didn't read that right. This is it. As an adult reader, you know what the error is. So yeah. Of course, some of our kids are going to have more profound reading difficulties, and that they may need more. But both of these kids, they have the profile of a child that would have been diagnosed dyslexia if there hadn't been an intervention. That phonemic awareness missing, they were getting systematic phonics already. That was not enough. They had to be taught how to hear the sounds and words and integrate it with the print in that integrated way, like Terri said, and apply it with lots of practice. So Anna says she agrees it's simple and integrated and the progress comes fast. Because it makes sense to the child. And if you're not familiar with Reading Simplified, we're just talking about with integration, like integrating, excuse me, let me fix this, sounds and symbols. So when they read, they're really paying attention to every sound. And when they write, they're paying attention to how the sounds map onto spelling. So they write, if he was to write botter, he would say b-ot, or he might be at the level where he's writing in chunks, he would say bot, and everything is integrated that way. And so, yes, if you're in your history lesson, Columbus sailed the ocean. What's the 1492? In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. How do you spell Columbus, class? Columbus. You still bring it into that other area. Just as a random example of history that comes to mind. So I'm so thankful for you sharing your stories. I know a lot of people are going to be encouraged by them. And thank you also for encouraging other teachers and parents, as you are already doing in the Teachers Lounge, which is like our online discussion forum inside our membership. So thank you for that. Would you like future complimentary trainings like this here at Reading Simplified? Then make sure you ring the bell here at YouTube to become a subscriber so that you learn more of our ways of streamlining instruction and accelerating students' reading achievement. And you can also find us on Facebook at Reading Simplified, usually on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go live with other complimentary trainings, and we give away some freebies for teachers and parents. So I hope to see you here again next time on YouTube or even on Facebook. Take care.